One of the things that we see a lot in our customers, specifically in the primary use case, which is kind of what we're talking about some here, is this concept of direct-to-net. I think you guys are probably all familiar with it. Some people call it split tunneling. Split tunneling gets a bad rap. If you go to NIST documents and you look at split tunneling, it's like, don't ever do that from the client side. So a little different in how we're doing this, and I think you'll see kind of the analogy for all the Wi-Fi guys is kind of the idea of if you don't give them good access, high speed, low latency access, they're going to do it themselves, right? They're going to find ATT Wi-Fi, they're going to go figure out a way to bring it home, they're going to tether into devices, they're going to do whatever they need to in order to get that access. So a lot of what we're telling people is, hey, you need to give that access to them. They're doing cloud apps. They're moving all that way. And one of the things that Gartner's talked about in that regard is for the highly distributed enterprise, which is our market. That's who we sell to. That's who we get information in this case from. That the web secure gateway is kind of the way to go. When you provide this access, there's a lot of ways to do it, but there's some constraints on you as well, and that's in regard to how many appliances can you put at the edge, how much can you afford to put at the edge. And we also know that in a lot of these cases it's retailers, but in most branch offices, they don't like to swap out hardware very often, if ever. I mean, retailers in the Wi-Fi space I know have used really old technology for a number of years, and those refreshes take a while to actually to occur. So the other thing is with security, how do you keep it updated? If you got multiple appliances, how do you keep the signatures updated? How do you maintain all of that? And then when you add to that the world moving to SSL, most attackers trying to hide through SSL outbound connections. How do you inspect SSL with these multiple appliances? And the additional concept of I want to be in block mode all the time. I don't want to be alerting and trying to respond to 10,000 locations that might have something going on. So the requirements for the folks at the edge are a little different. From a risk perspective, now I'm not going to go through all of this because it would take too long. I think you guys are pretty familiar with the concepts of you know, I got no IT staff, I got no security staff. You know, I've got low-paid employees potentially as well that aren't watching the door as closely as they could. So at the edge, you've got a number of different risks that you might want to be considering. We could talk about any of these in detail, but ultimately what it looks like from our perspective is each of these different threat vectors has potential for getting onto the network and doing damage in a variety of different ways. The tunnel attacks themselves aren't that big of a concept, so but they do exist, right? If I'm using a VPN tunnel, there's somebody puts it in aggressive Ike mode and poof, problems start to happen, which is a requirement for some of the advanced VPN technologies that are out there, DMVPN, et cetera. So what our solution looks like is more of this is the classic branch office. You're using the hub and spoke technique. You send everything back to the data center and then off to the internet. And it's a pretty common architecture still today. And am I in the way?
Oh, just I want to make sure.
Okay. I'll try and be mobile. Dance steps. So you guys have all seen this, and when you have 1,000 locations, these VPN tunnels get hammered quite a bit, as well as all the appliances and security controls that are in the data center. And what we've seen a lot of our customers do is actually migrate to where they actually split tunnel public internet traffic off directly from the branch. And when you do that, you also expose yourself in some ways. And so for us, there were a couple of options. One is you can put all those appliances out at the edge, like we talked about, or you can do what most of our customers do and what we're talking about, which is you have a significant cloud component for your security. In our case, for that cloud piece, We use a Zscaler for that secure web gateway. Could be other products, but we've got integration with Zscaler, and so it kind of makes a lot of sense to look directly at that. But again, it's cloud-based, so the idea is to make it flexible. The other thing that I have on here is our Trend Micro Ids Ips, and part of the thing that you do is when you look at the branch itself, you want to also protect it from those inbound threats. So guys walking in, first test on guest Wi-Fi, get on the guest Wi-Fi, can I actually get to the other networks that they're supposedly segmented off, right? That's kind of the classic step one of a pen test remotely. So you want to be able to detect those kind of east-west types of attacks as well. And we wrap the whole thing with the cloud management, so keeping things updated from the standpoint of on-premise, whether it's configurations or the actual signatures that we get from Trend Micro. And then the Zscaler component keeps itself updated. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Zscaler. Is it pretty much? Okay.